A warm welcome to episode 1 of Lost for Words, a podcast where we uncover guests' glories, opinions, and interesting stories. I am your host Jason, and today's guest is the wonderful Lindsay Hamilton. Lindsay is a Glasgow football enthusiast who is the owner of the Glasgow Football Tour. On the show, I'm going to speak to her about her life, her interest in all things football, as well as how the Glasgow Football Tour was started up, and her plans with her business for the future. A quick housekeeping note before we get started. Please leave a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean, or any other platform. It's the best way the podcast can grow and better content can be produced for you, the listener. It's your listening experience that matters the most. But enough from me, now on to today's episode of Lost for Words. Hi Lindsay, how are you? Are you alright?
I'm not bad, man. I had a bit of a day myself. My wee dog, my wee puppy, cut his paw open. There's hands of glass lying about, man. I'm having multiple discussions about this. Like, everybody's saying just having lots of rubbish problems about the place at the minute. I don't know if it's lockdown, obviously the nice weather, like all the wains have been drinking up the canal and things where we usually go. And just honestly about 30 wains, man. I was like, Christ, here we go. Like, don't mind them having a drink, but they're literally I went up the day again for the lunchtime walk, and they'd smashed the bottles. Like, who does that? Just leave the empty or put it in a box or put it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand these are young things. He's only going to take them up the road, but don't smash them off trees. Like, then that's how it gets into like wee dog's paws and things like that, you know. So I'm 300 odd quid down for the vet today. So, and the poor he was sedated, so he's came in like an absolute drunk man. He's just absolutely done in. So
Talk to me about lockdown, Lindsay. What do you do to stay busy?
to be honest, just watching Netflix, playing a lot of Pro Evo, with on the Xbox, walking the dog, lots and lots of dog walks. Got a puppy. He's actually not a lockdown puppy. We got him. He was planned well before coronavirus had even been mentioned in the news. But he arrived in the April time. So just kind of when it all kicked off, and it was just kind of when we thought, oh, it'll be 3 weeks. We'll just need to have a wee lockdown for 3 weeks, mind that time. And then that never happened. So, but lots of Netflix series, stuff that I've never really watched because I've just been downloading like Amazon Prime and subscribing even to Amazon Prime and like Disney Plus and all that. So, been watching Parks and Rec, watched The Office, which I'd never seen before, much to a lot of my mates' amazement, but I just hadn't seen it. And that's basically it. Out with football things, reading lots of books and listening to lots of podcasts, to be honest, just keeping busy in general. I feel like work-wise, I've been busier working from home than I've been any other time, just because it's kind of your sole thing at the minute. You don't really get to obviously go for a meal or go to the pub or whatever, so that's kind of been my thing.
Fair play for making it this long without having seen the US Office.
I know, I know. It always baffles people, but it's brilliant. I don't really know why it took me so long because that get binged. Very very good program. Parks and Rec get absolutely binged as well. So good, just wholesome Parks. That very different comedies, but like it's just the two of them are just brilliant. I enjoyed them. But a lot of Pez. I was reunited with some Pro Evo. So I'd not really sat down to actually properly get time to play my Xbox in so long. So it was kind of nice to actually play on the Xbox for a wee bit. So that was good.
So you live in Glasgow now. Have you always lived here? Did you grow up here as well?
Yeah, man, North Glasgow. Was born in Milton, lived there my whole life, or the Milton as it's commonly sort of known. Fun football fact, seeing as that's my bag, but Kenny Dalglish is actually from the Milton. A lot of people think he's from Govan because that's where he did move to Govan and stuff, and lived like, very close by Ibrox. But he's actually from Milton. He's a Milton boy. So I've lived in North Glasgow all my life. Love it. I do love this city. To be
How
fair,
would you describe like your childhood? What made you happy as a young person?
my friends playing football. I had a very happy childhood. Very fortunate to be able to say that. I had a great upbringing. Went to school. place that I live, St Ambrose Primary. Went to secondary in Balmulloch, so we'd get the bus in the morning. Just good pals, friends that I still have to this day. I've still maintained my close friendships since secondary school. In fact, today we were on the chat trying to book a place for the 26th of April. I hope I've got that date right. Try to get a wee pub, an outdoor garden to sit in.
Beer garden.
Aye, that's it, to sit and have a wee beer and a wee chat, because we've seen one another now and again, like for wee walks, but usually it's maybe one or two of us that have been able to make it out, and then other folk are working or whatever. It's just, and it's not the same. It's nice, do you know what I mean? But you feel like you're meeting people and you're trying to catch up on like 4 or 5 months of stuff that's been happening. So you're trying to squeeze in a lot, but we're always on WhatsApp on there and always checking in. So I just, good pals, out playing football. As soon as I get home from school, folk chatting your door, coming out to play, and then getting shouted in for dinner and going back out again. And then when the street lights came on, it was like, right, I need to go home. Saying that, I wouldn't be out. I always had to do my homework first before I was allowed out, but it, did me no harm. Stood me in good stead, I suppose. But that's one thing. My mum and dad were like, no, homework first. I'm like, right, okay. But just playing football till the moon came up, to be honest, and then that was it. Brilliant.
I think children nowadays, obviously it's a different world, but the full coming in for school and just the concept of going out to play, it doesn't really exist anymore.
No, I don't know. I don't really have many young people in our family really to know, but I know that they definitely still go out and meet up and stuff like that. But that concept of actually going out and playing, I don't think that happens as much, because I just think whenever I do see young people out and about, they're generally on their phones, well with one another, and I do find it quite sad, because it's just not what we had. I feel like I was born in the 90s, 94, and I do think we were kind of the last generation of, we never grew up with a phone. I think I was in my teens before I ever had a mobile. Which even then, to me, that's still quite young. But again, we weren't attached to them. They weren't smartphones or anything like that. It was the old, you had to press it multiple times to get your letter to come up for a text and all that stuff. It wasn't. It's no the way it is now. And we didn't. Social media was just. I mean, we had Bebo, but real proper social media now, where it's Facebook, Twitter, etc. That was just kind of happening all around us, just when we were getting phones and stuff like that. But I just think now, so I was sorry, when we were younger, it was actually going out to play, whether it was football or tig or what was that mad game, British Bulldogs or something like that. Do you know what I mean? How brutal was that game?
British Bulldogs and what was that, Red Rover?
Red Rover, even Kirby, Kirby was hours spent on trying to throw a ball off the side of the pavement, but it was pure entertainment. I don't know, you do see definitely, I kind of don't agree really with kids don't even go out anymore. They absolutely do. You see young people out all the time meeting up and going out, but again, it's like a social media. It's going out and taking pictures and making wee TikToks and always on their phones. It's no picking up a ball or picking up a stick or rugby tackling your mate to the ground like the British Bulldogs as we did. It's just different. But I do find it quite sad, because I think there was definitely a camaraderie with all that sort of stuff. But, and as I'm saying, just maintain so many friendships for a young age, for just being out playing about like wee dafties. And
How young were you when you first became a follower of football?
My memory is shocking, to be fair. The earliest I probably remember is about 4-year-old. But I was always interested. My dad always played football, so he played on a Friday night, just fives. But I always wanted to go along to where he played. Like all the kids kind of went along, and then we all played while the guys were kicking lumps at one another at 5 sort of thing. But you were fascinated by it and always wanted a shot. But obviously they were all big baldy guys, and you wouldn't have 4-year-olds. You know what I mean? You just wanted to play. But all the other kids would maybe bring a ball and stuff like that. So I kind of remember even for them, just having a wee go and kicking a ball and running about, and it was brilliant. But even at that, my brother was always like a big Celtic fan and stuff, and I always remember him with kits and kicking the ball about the back garden, and I just wanted to play. I wanted to watch. Always remember us listening to the football on the tranny as well. Like even if we weren't watching it on telly, it would always be sort of on in the background. Bearing in mind again, this is 98, early 2000s. Like football isn't it like it is now. You don't have a game every single night. Back when I was 4 years old, you'd have your game on the Saturday, and that would probably be it. Like for at least a good couple of years until it all really kicked off with Premier League era and such like. But but all the games would at least be on the radio, so you would always listen in to the scores and stuff like that. So honestly, for as long as I can remember, like even if it wasn't properly following a team at that point, or knowing players' names or knowing club names or things like that, like I always remember watching my dad playing, and it was the playing side of it that I was like, that looks like some buzz, like it looked so fun, and I always wanted a shot. And then the older I kind of got, and obviously being around my family, like I am from a Celtic family. That's the team that I follow. That's the team my family follows. Like it was then always like getting to know the players and who we're playing this weekend and all that excitement and all that buzz. But I remember from like the age of 4 wanting to be excited by the ball, basically, just wanting to kick it and wanting to have a shot. And then probably from about 6, 7, understanding Celtic and understanding that teams play. It's funny when you look back, but I understand like there's a league system and teams play one another and there's different teams, and like kind of learning your craft a wee bit. But I don't know where it came from. I suppose my dad's football daft. My brother's the same, so I just kind of came through that, I think.
What age did you, not even in terms of like a team or organised, but what age did you play until? Did you play through your like into your early teens and whatever?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at secondary school, I did quite well. I played for Celtic and Celtic's academy, and as a fan, obviously it was a big moment for me, and my family were dead proud. Didn't play a lot, I must say. I was in among some brilliant players, so brilliant that some of them are playing for the Scotland national team now. So, what could have been? Nah, it wasn't for me. It really wasn't.
Who did you play with?
I played with Chloe Arthur, who is at Bristol now. I hope I've got that right. I played with Fiona Brown, who's playing out, oh God, is it Norway or something? But obviously plays for the Scotland national team. Brilliant players, but who else was in that team? There was a few ones that play down south now. Funny, actually, I played with somebody who recently just got called up to the Scotland squad. She played, what was I can't remember the last games that the lassies played there. That's terrible. They played 2 games away from home. I can't think who it was. But anyway, by the by, Natalie Ross. I got as far as the Celtic reserves, and when I was at Celtic, Natalie was in the reserve squad, and now she's doing fantastic. She's like the focal point of the Celtic women's team at the minute. Her and Lisa Robertson are playing absolutely fantastic, and the two of them get their call up for Scotland and well deserved. So that's another one that I played with as well. So brilliant players, man. I was at the World Cup in France, Paris. I mean, I was there for the last game.
Is that 2019?
2019, the Argentina, the 3-3. My God, I've never known anything like it. Poor Lee Alexander saves the penalty, and then it gets called back again. With the new rules, obviously, she's stepped off the line type thing. Oh.
Some of those games, they were on during the day, weren't they?
That one was at night time for memory, because we were out in Paris all day. And then I think Japan was in the afternoon. But it was great. I was gutted for them, man. I was honestly in the stadium just being like, honestly, it's the most Scottish thing I've ever seen in front of my very eyes. I was like, that is this whole glorious failure thing, which we're trying to change it up now. But they'd done so well to get there, man. Like it was fantastic. It was an absolute, what's the word for it? I don't know, groundbreaking moment. I don't know if that's the word, but just it's changed everything, and you're now kind of expecting that success. And I know they recently didn't get into the Euros. I think they were recently trying to qualify, but there's more to be done.
The World
And
Cup cycle will be starting back.
yeah, aye, that's right. That'll be soon. So aye, they did magic to get there. First Euros and first World Cup back to back. Can't you knock that? It's brilliant. So absolutely fair play. And obviously now with the men's team, much excitement with that as well. So I played with lots of teams. I played with Clyde. I played with Erdley. Played. My first team was actually Arsenal, who played in the East End, who turned into Celtic. I don't know how that worked or how the ins and outs it were, but that Arsenal they basically, I suppose, kind of bought the club, I suppose, because they used to play out the East End. Huge academy. And that's kind of where that stemmed from. They basically turned into Celtic, but I never got in then because I trialled and never got in, which I remember being gutted at the time because I was like obviously younger and a Celtic fan and that, but I kept playing. I just play football for the fun of it, to be honest with you. Like, as I'm saying, obviously I played with those players, and I've had people since that know that I played for Celtic, and obviously they see the success of the women's team and they're like, "Are you no gutted you never sort of stuck in?" I was like, well, I still play, but I never had that like competitive edge in terms of football. Like it was always just like a hobby and somewhere to just sort of act the goat and be with your pals. And I never went into it with big ambitions to go and be the best or whatever. It was just I just found it fun. It was just fun to play.
That's a really good way to look back at it, though, because it would be understandable if you had, even say you get into the reserves, you could say that's tangibly close to being the first team. So it would be, you could easily be resentful for not making it.
You could, man. See now. I actually do work for. I do a couple of podcasts for the 90-Minute Cynic, which is a Celtic podcast, and my role is I do the women's games, and mate, honestly, I get a pure buzz out of how far it's gone for the players, like the people that really, really wanted to make it and wanted a career in football. I want a career in football, but I want a different career. I want to be, tourism for me is my thing. I love it. I love it. I literally love standing in front. It's like having a wee audience and telling stories. That to me is a Champions League final. I get an absolute buzz from it, right? Honestly. And if your buzz comes through playing out 11 a side game in front of people and scoring the winning goal and pushing that as far as you can push it, like on you go, man. Like I honestly wish the best for it. It's no like for me, that's just kicking a ball about with your pals. That's the biggest buzz ever. But trying to get, I mean, it would be amazing, but it's just no the thing that makes me tick as much as it obviously makes other folk tick. And but I get such a buzz for seeing, because obviously having played at Celtic and having seen it grow from what it is to now, just when was that, 2019, I think, I turning professional. Maybe it was 2020 actually. My years are all muddled with having missed a full one with the lockdown, but having turned professional and all that stuff, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like things are just changing rapid, and I'm chuffed for the people that they did want that and they were waiting out for that, and they've got their just rewards, and it's class, mate. It really, really is. But no, I've no bitterness towards it at all. I'm just happy to see the journey and have been any sort of small part in it. Like I get a buzz off of saying I used to play football with Chloe Arthur. like that, I get a kick out of that. I'm like, do you know what? That's pretty cool in itself. And I absolutely, every time she goes out to play for Scotland, I'm like, wish her all the best. I think it's fantastic. And the fact she's playing down south and making money, and same with Fiona and same with the other girls that are doing it. It's brilliant, man. It's absolutely brilliant. It's huge. But that was I mean, I still play recently for Broomhill, BSC. That's for last kicking a ball. We've obviously been brought to a halt with the lockdown. But so still doing it. To me, it's still sort of Sunday league stuff. We go if we win, we tend to maybe go for a pint, and even if we lose, we tend to go for a wee pint and get some grub. And well, I don't tend to get a pint. I'm usually a designated driver, to be honest, but it's nice. It's the social aspect. It's being able to go kick a ball, and then at the end, right, we'll go get some grub, watch some football, whatever the Sunday game is, 5 o'clock kickoff or something like that, and we sit and watch the game together. And that to me is brand new. That's a bit of me. I like that. Again, it's just more stories. It's just sitting with people and getting the gab. That's what I'm all about. I was never aiming for Champions League or anything like that, so I was happy to pull on the hoops at one point. I can always say I've done it. Never done it to any great level, but I've played and I've scored a goal, scored a couple, so I'll take it. I'm pretty chuffed with that, to be honest. No many folk can say they've done it, so I'll take it.
When did your enjoyment of playing become an interest in Stadia and history?
Mate, I don't know what it is about stadiums, but I feel like very fortunate when I was younger that we were able to sort of travel a lot. Like we always kind of got a wee holiday in the summer, and I mean, we didn't always do city breaks, but now and again we would maybe be able to go to a couple of cities and stuff, so there would always be a ground. And obviously me and my brother being big football fans, we would always look up, the team that was in the area and stuff like that, and kind of just for there it just became a thing. So now, even now, wherever I go, I don't think I've been one place on holiday and not gone to see the stadium, even if I'm there, like in Berlin with my mates who maybe aren't football fans. I'm like, guys, I'm going to the stadium today. If you want to come. And in fairness, a few of my mates have been up for it and been like, no, we'll come along, you know what I mean? We'll just see it, whatever, get our photos. So fair play. But I just love them. I just love everything about them. I love the look. I love the feel. Because there's just something about them where some sort of atmosphere exists, even when there's nobody there. It is like a church. It's weird. It's weird and amazing, and there's something just pure beautiful about it. It's they're just my favourite things. I think even the architecture, I know that I am not an architectural genius by any, I don't know anything, but I don't know, even just looking at them and how they're just the best, man. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well at all, but I don't know where it comes from. I really, really don't. I wish I could tell you, but I think the thing about stadiums is it's a shared space, and even though
bringing people from everywhere together.
That's it. It's a shared space. It's a shared memory, and every time you go, some sort of history is being developed right in front of your face. It's stuff that you will recall throughout your life with your mates or with a random stranger. Like any football fan, you go around the world, what's your team? You tell them, it doesn't matter who your team is or whatever. Likelihood is they're able to tell you something, or you're able to share some sort of, that, even if it's we signed him for your, do you know what I mean? Like there's always some sort of story, some sort of connection. For me, it's the shared collective memory that everybody has. There's something really special with that and rare. I can't really think, like, maybe at school, your schoolmates, you'll have a collective memory, but that kind of comes and goes. Football is there from day dot to the day you're dead and buried, and that collective memory sort of exists throughout your life. There's something very special about that, I think.
What was the very first stadium you visited, and do you remember anything about your very first time?
Out with the Glasgow ones?
Including just the first ever stadium?
It would have been Celtic Park. I'd imagine. But then again, the first that I probably seen being close to my house would have likely been Firhill.
I love that that's next to the canal.
That's mate. Do you know, see on tour, like obviously, especially international tourists, everybody internationally knows the old firm, right? So whether it's Celtic Ibrox, they're the ones that everybody thinks, oh, I can't wait to see the big ones. Do you know what I mean? Firhill is everybody's favourite ground. Honest to God, I think people love the honesty of it, like pure weeds growing out of the bricks and like the old turnstiles where like they've got painted like a child ticket is like £2.50 or something, I think it said, and an adult's a fiver, and everybody else is like, yeah, you could definitely like say it advertises a fiver for a ticket up there, do you know what I mean? But it's clearly like the old turnstiles. People love it. People really have. There's some sort of charm about it. Plus, everybody loves the mural and stuff as well. Firhill always seems to be like one that everybody enjoys. I think it's that sort of dark horse. People don't know so much about Thistle as well. So when we're outside the ground and I'm telling people stories and so many great characters that have been at the club and stuff, everybody there's sort of perk up. Firhill and Cafkin. Cafkin isn't even technically a stadium anymore. It's a footballing graveyard. It's got the old terracing and crash barriers, but it's not a ground. It's not a stadium, I'll say. It is a ground. I wouldn't say it's a stadium, but they're the two favourites out of all of them. But Firhill probably with proximity at my house. I probably drove past that first when I was younger. And remember the floodlights, I always remember because they pure come out of nowhere, like when you're cutting through like Saracen sort of thing, like you can see them. If it's a midweek game and stuff like that as well. Big pylons right in the corner, but well, no pylons, but they're big sort of massive lamp posts, but huge. But Celtic Park would have been the first that I was taken to.
So before the lockdown last year, what was the last game you went to with a crowd?
Oh God, now you're asking. That's a great question. I don't know. I never went to the last one at Celtic Park. Oh, in fact, I'll be able to tell you this right now. Wait, it's Shettleston Juniors because, and that's mad. And I was kicking myself, right? So to my absolute shame, really annoyed and guilt to this, but I'd never been to a junior match until 2019. I went at the end of 2019. Knew quite a bit about the juniors, knew all the clubs, could name them, do you know what I mean? But I just had never beat because I'd followed like Celtic and been to Scotland games, and even on the weekends where there wasn't a Celtic game, I would go to Firhill, especially when I was a teenager, because you could get, and a student, because I think you could get a ticket for a fiver or something like that. There was some wee deal on for like a student price as well. So I used to go there. So it just kind of passed me by. And then obviously with the business and stuff, I was like, I need to tap into the junior. I was like, this is daft. Like I definitely need to get along to some junior games. So my first one I went to was Glasgow Perthshire. No, that's a lie. St Roch's. I went to see St Roch's and Cambuslang Rangers. It was a brilliant game. I went to the first half of that, and then I had to go to Hampden afterwards because Queen's Park were playing. And I was going to see somebody that day. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, so I actually squeezed in two games. Well, one half of a junior game, and then I watched the full QP game. And then, so I went to St Roch's, and then I did. Was Glasgow Perthshire after that? It must have been. Glasgow Perthshire was after that, and then I did Shettleston, and it was brilliant. Can't remember who they were playing. Greenock Juniors. They were playing Greenock. And it was brilliant. But I gave my then girlfriend at the time my season ticket. And I was like, I'm going to go to the juniors today, you go. And I missed Celtics. I think that was the last game. Could that?
Was it St Mirren, wasn't it?
I think that was. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Because I don't think I went to the last game, but I think that was the reason why. Unless it was something else. No, I don't know. I went to Peters Hill afterwards. Oh God, I don't know, mate. I'm pretty sure it was at a Shettleston Juniors game, but I'm all over the place. But aye, that's the one I remember last anyway. But how funny, a junior game. But aye.
Do you think it's a good thing that the juniors is now reformed and they're now in the pyramid?
I honestly don't know enough about the league structures to know if it's a benefit to anybody or whatever. But as long as they keep going, my big thing, honestly, mate, like I've got a bit of a cheat because I've only been to 4 games, right? But I fell in love like week 1. I was like, this is a bit of me. This is brilliant. Like, just affordable football. Like, it's changed so much. Like, obviously, I'll always follow my team, right? And we all do the same thing. Some of it's just got out of control, modern football wise, and ticket prices, and even kit prices, man. See all that stuff? Like, it's through the roof. And I think if you've even got a family, one wee kid, even if you had one child, your wee boy, your wee girl, you want to take them at the football, it's tough. It's really like financially quite a strain to go and do that if you're supporting a Scottish football. So it doesn't even need to be any one of the big 2 here in Glasgow. Just any sort of side, it's expensive. And the juniors to me was a complete breath of fresh air, and I'm never done saying to people, even every now and again, just go. If your team's playing on a Sunday, why no on a Saturday at 3 o'clock? Just go. The Glasgow Perthshire game, I'm a tea drinker, right? I'm a pure tea Jenny. I arrived, it was peeing the rain, and I was like, oh, do you know what, Matt? I just want a wee cup of tea. So goes up, wee woman behind the canteen, pure nice, pure gabbing away, and got my cup of tea, went out for the first half. Rain kind of stopped, but it would come back on again. It was just one of those in and out, drizzly rain. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to get another cup of tea. It was. I should have stressed it was £1 for a cup of tea. I was dancing outside. I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, £1. You can't even get like a pie, like for like £3.50. I think is probably minimum price for a pie. Like in any one of the big, like, it's mental. Do you know what I mean? Like probably it's about. I think it's £3.75 for a cup of tea. At Celtic Park. I think that's right. It's nuts, right? So £1. I went in at half time and I was like, oh, that was magic. Can I get another cup of tea? She was like, I neighbour. I brought the cup back. And she was like, as soon as you brought the cup back, 50 pence. Mate, I started doing cartwheels. I was like, it's just so much. You felt like an actual human being and no a customer. Like, it just felt like you were being served by your pal or something like that. That maybe sounds weird because you're obviously paying them, but it's just, there was something pure homely about it and just nice. It was class. And the fact that, obviously it's no Champions League stuff you're watching, you know what I mean? But some of it was decent, by the way. I went to a Peters Hill game, and that was really good. One of the goals was an absolute topper, by the way. And it was brilliant. And the atmosphere's great. And I'm never done bigging it up. And I was gutted actually because I'd literally just got into it, been to my first game, and was hooked, like literally hooked. Did 4 on the trot, and then obviously we all get put into a lockdown, and it's no started back yet. I believe they'll be back training, but I don't know if they've announced any continuation yet of the actual league or whatever. But the aim is to get around all the Glasgow grounds because I've actually not been at all of the juniors yet, past them and such like.
How many have you been to?
Oh, how many have I been to in Glasgow? I'm thinking, have I been to 8 of them? For a game, I've only been to the 4, as I said, which isn't enough. And as I say, that's to my great shame. But in terms of being at the grounds, because I've been to Pollux before, I've been to Cambuslang Rangers. Where else have I been? I'm thinking 8.
We're settling for
We'll go
8.
with that. We'll go with settle 8. I think 8. But definitely, as soon as it kicks back off, they're all gone. They're all getting gone to because I was right into it, man. Really enjoying it. I've no picked a junior side yet. I don't know if I'll do that. I don't know if I'll find my team. I feel like I've came into it too late to have a team. Do you know what I mean? But you never know. Somebody might steal my heart away, and that'll be me. Whoever's got the cheapest cup of tea, then you've got my vote. Aye, basically.
So then going back to further afield, what's your top 3 European stadia that you've been
that
to?
I've actually been to. This is absolute sacrilege every time I say this, right? But there was a feel about the place that I loved. and it was Wembley. I don't think it would be my numero uno, but I did love that ground. It was, do you know what it was? It was the train journey. I remember coming up to the ground because we get the train there through Piccadilly, I think. And just over the top of the trees, it just started to slowly, like you could see the top of the arch now that it's got like the big archway above, and it just looked magic. Like it wasn't even game day or anything like that, and I was just like, oh wow, it was very imposing. So I did like that one. It was brilliant. The other one is the Milan Tour in Hamburg. The tour was brilliant. St. Pauli, I've been for a game, and do you know what? Like this isn't even like a like sort of Celtic connection, blah blah. Like I can't say like I'm a St. Pauli fan or anything like that. We actually went. I used to play for a team called United Glasgow, and they've got connections with St. Pauli. Great club, by the way. Do really good things in Glasgow. And we were there for a trip just for the weekend, and all went to a game together. But as somebody like me, I'm a bit old school. To be on an actual terrace, the atmosphere was brilliant, man. Like what European, they just get it right. Do you know what I mean? Like it was just brilliant. Proper big flags, proper pyro, like being able to have a beer, like big massive like beer cup. It was just brilliant, man. Couldn't sing any of the songs because it's all in German, but like just having the best time. And we did do I think we did the tour the day before, and it's wacky. I don't know if I would recommend it to anybody that likes a wee bit, like it's just obscure, right? So it's a bit backwards because obviously St. Pauli's sort of seen as like it's owned by the fans and we're against sort of modern sort of football and stuff like that. They still have what would you call it, like sponsored box, so like their sponsors have boxes like in the ground, but they do them up in all these like mad ways. So we walked into one of them and it's a chapel. Like there's a Virgin Mary in the corner, there's wee pews, like it is nuts, right? Like a proper like, and like you walk through a modern stadium in the corridor into this like wee wooden chapel, right? I don't know I don't actually I don't know if Astra, I don't know if it was the Astra beer that, I don't know, I can't mind who the sponsor was for that box, but it was nuts. We walked into another one and it was like a dressing room, but they'd made it all really, really cool and sort of retro looking. It was like sort of old, like metal lockers, kind of like American high school, but it was nice. It was all retro. Boots hanging up, like proper like Adidas Predators and Adidas Copas and things like that, all hanging up in jerseys and stuff like that. And just really cool, man. And really obscure, like really obscure. So the tour was really cool for stuff like that. And fun. Just that ground was just fun in terms of atmosphere and things. I'm trying to think where else I like going. I love going to Newcastle United's ground.
St James's.
St James's. Been there a few times. Different games. My mate. I'm actually sitting. I've got them on in the background here, but my mate's a bit of a Spurs fan. There's strangely a couple of Spurs supporters clubs up here in Scotland. Not strangely, I suppose it's a team in England, but there's the Loch Lomond Spurs and the Glasgow Spurs, and he's part of the Glasgow Spurs. So I've been to a few games down south with him, and we went to. It was the first day of the season. It was the opening game, I think. How lucky! Newcastle versus Tottenham. They won 3-0, I think. Spurs. We went down 2018, I think that was. Had a cracking time, man. And obviously, I think there's a correlation here, being able to have a beer. Obviously, in England, you've got to have it in the concourse, but I do enjoy St James's as well. But I'm checking, there must be a better one up there. Where have I been? Been to the Nou Camp for a game. My only Celtic European game. We get absolutely trounced 7-1. Georgios Samaras scored a goal. So I was there for a very heavy loss, but what a ground, man. Like you can't. Oh, tell you what, that's a belter as well, actually, and it's not even, probably not my favourite club. But the Bernabeu, we went to the Santiago Bernabeu. My God, like, unreal. It was Real Madrid versus Atletico Bilbao. I can't even mind that it wasn't a high scoring game. I think it was maybe a 1-0 at Real or 2-0. It wasn't a high score. Like, you'd maybe think Real would have trounced them. Like, Ronaldo and stuff was playing. He was still there. I think that was 2017. And we were right up in the gods. We just managed to get tickets. We were like, give us the cheapest ones, because it is expensive. I think we get in for, I don't know, €25, €30 or something like that. Way up in the gods, but brilliant, man. Heaven. Like, we were literally up in row ZZ. Couldn't have gone any higher unless we'd have been strapped to the roof. I've got a great shot. It was on my Instagram. I just sat on the very, very top step. The stairs are like a blue colour, and it just, this green pitch just opened up in front, and it was just like a stairway to heaven or something like that, man. It was unreal. Just the sheer size and scale of it. Unbelievable. But obviously, knowing what I know as well, so the Santiago Bernabeu, I think they've got a capacity of 90-odd thousand or something like that. Oh no, I'm wrong. I had to Google it because I actually wasn't sure, because I was like, I don't want to muck this up.
Mid 80s?
81,000, right? God, I overshot. I thought it was more than that. It looks more like more than that when you're looking at it. But obviously, I'm looking about, and I did Google it at the time actually. So there we go, 81,000, and I was like, but imagine Hampden Park in 1937, and there's 149,000. Like, how do you even compute that in your head? Do you know what I mean? How? And I'm sitting in no ZZ freaking out, and this is a good structure. It's not, do you know what I mean? All the safety measures, like, it's, a very, very safe place to sit and watch a football. These places are built for big, big capacity crowds, you know what I mean? And has all the tools and muscles and all the facilities you'll need. Like, the old Hampden Park, you didn't even have toilets or anything like that. It was just a bowl, and you stood there and you watched the football. But it was hosting 149 foot. Like, you can't compute that in your head. I'm looking about the Bernabeu going, I've never seen so many people in my life. Thinking back, obviously knowing what I know, going, Hampden Park at one point was double that. It's unreal, man. It's unbelievable. But that was a special place to watch a football. I was kind of just sitting there, and obviously, the history of Real Madrid as well. Like, the European titles they've won, in Glasgow. The players they've had play for them, just unreal. One of the biggest football clubs in the world, if not the biggest. Like, everybody and their granny's dog knows who Real Madrid is. Do you know what I mean? And you've just kind of got to be in awe of it, to be honest. And that's what I was like on the stairs, I was sitting on the stairs like a big kid, terrified to move because I'm not very good with heights, and we're in row ZZ of the biggest ground, one of the biggest grounds in Europe. But this big green bit of grass just opened up. Some of the best players in the world kicking a ball about for 90 minutes. Just magic, man. It was just a childhood dream. Brilliant. So that's actually probably up there just for the pure grandeur of it. The Bernabeu for the grandeur, the Milan for the
snazziness.
Just really some oddness about it, and then Wembley. I don't know, just something about that structure, that arch. There's something about it. As I'm saying, I'm a bit odd when it comes to stadiums. I just think they're just brilliant, but. I don't think there's any more. There's a few I've not been to that I really want to see, and I'm desperate. Me and my mate, because he mentioned a wee while ago, obviously the San Siro's soon to come down, and I really want to see it before it goes. There's a few. I want to go to Naples as well, and I really, really want to go, probably for obvious reasons now as well, with the passing of Diego Maradona and things too. I would really like to see that. There's so many, to be honest. I've so many to tick off the box. They're up there.
So in terms of the history, when you're learning about the history of, say, Glaswegian football, is that what made you want to work for the Scottish Football Museum?
I was at uni. So obviously, for those, please, I hope folk haven't turned off because they're like, she's a Celtic fan, boo. But this whole thing actually started when I was at uni, and I was studying sports studies at Stirling University, and our first 2 years were a range. So we went through physiology to psychology to nutrition so the sort of typical stuff you would think about sport, teaching, education, stuff like that. And then it shifted to something that I didn't even know really that we covered, history. politics, law, and I was like, I love this. I didn't even know this existed. Obviously, you know that sports history exists. I didn't know that it was an actual thing that people go way back. Like we were learning about Greek sort of stuff, and like the Olympics and all that, and then the bike and how the bike revolutionised women in sport, because it was probably the first thing they would ever sort of allowed to do. Like I'm talking like Victorian times and things like this. By the way, I realise I'm very brief about all this stuff, but learning about the early years of football, like Shrove Tuesday football, where it's a town try to get where it's like hundreds of guys, men and women, try to get a ball from one end of the town to the other, and whoever gets it there wins type thing. Like all that stuff and all these traditions. And my wee mind was just blown. And then so I followed that into my third year, and we started talking about like Barcelona and Catalonia and that sort of independence movement. And then for the first time ever, I had one of my lecturers, brilliant Dr. Irene Reid, talking about Celtic and Irishness. And then we started talking about Rangers and Protestantism, and I was like, but really delving into it. Obviously, as Glaswegians, we're very aware. Like we understand, but this was like proper delving into it. And I was just like, this is a bit of me. I love this. So it comes to my fourth year, and I'm like, right, we need to write a dissertation here. And I'm with my supervisor. And I was like, I do kind of want to delve into this. And we kind of had a chat about it, and we were like, everybody talks about Celtic. Everybody talks about the Irishness and that kind of story, the origin, sorry, you know, the charitable stuff and all the rest of it. Everybody talks about it. He was like, nobody really talks about Rangers and Unionism and Protestantism and stuff. And I was like, by the way, you're right. So that's what I did. But I wanted to do it from a sort of central character who, in my mind, is Mr. Rangers, and that was Bill Struth. So I wrote a dissertation about, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was like Bill Struth and him sort of being centered around the values and the traditions and the sort of standards of the football club. And that's where it all stemmed from. So my fourth year consisted of me reading tons of follow the fanzines, and lots of books about Rangers, lots of books about Struth, and so it kind of opened up a whole catalogue about it and about the club. And he's a fascinating character, to be honest with you. But my understanding of that really was because obviously you've still now got the Sons of Struth, the Rangers supporters group and stuff, who I believe have shares and stuff in the club as well. So it's obviously, I mean, Struth was a manager of 1920 to 1954, and still to this day is a hugely integral character and has an integral following, and that Rangers supporters, still see him as this central figure. So it just seemed like the obvious fit. But to come back to your question, when I started, when I finally settled on, right, I'm going to talk about Struth and Rangers, and because to me this is where all the values stem from. It's Bill Struth, that he was the guy sort of thing. That's when I get in contact with the Scottish Football Museum. I thought that this will be a good link. These guys will be able to help me out. They've got a library there as well, and it's in Glasgow, so I don't need to travel to Stirling as much. That'll be brand new. So I went along and just made great pals, to be honest. Like, all the guys that ran the tours were brand new, so nice. They're just pure, absolute gentlemen, like the nicest guys. Gab you about football all day long. Bear in mind, I'm walking into the football museum. I've been before a million times, but I was literally studying, writing about Bill Struth, walking into the football museum and seeing the Champions League trophy and seeing the Scottish Cup and seeing, God, what else is, like the Fabergé eggs, Jimmy Johnson's George Best Fabergé eggs, and just all these stories. I just love the place. I love the place. I fell in love with it, and finished up my fourth year and decided to do a wee bit of travelling. So I went to Boston and I coached and worked for a wee while there. Came back then that tourism, there's something about tourism, there was something about it that was kind of calling us to it. Like, I've always kind of travelled and it always been tours, in other places, whether it was stadium tours or whatever. So I've been on Segway tours, I've been or just all sorts of different things, and just always liked them. But I came back and was like, do you know what I loved? I loved that football museum. I'm going to get in touch with it's Colin, who I know, Colin Lobbin, and ask for a job. And they gave me one. They were like, yep, because it was coming up to Christmas at the time, I think. So obviously a sort of Christmas tempeh sort of thing. So started there, was there for a good couple of months, and just get like the script, and you're going, because obviously they do give you a script, but you don't even really read off it. You end up following guys around, and they're picking up their stories and things like that, and just sort of learning off of others. And within a couple of months, I was like, this is brilliant. Like, people really take to you. People are dead nice. You get international tourists from all over, fans from all over, and everybody just wants to share stories with you, man, about the place they're from, about the team they support, about their national team, things about Glasgow, things about what. It's just brilliant, man. They just want to talk to you, and it's class. Just a great job. So I turned around to Colin and was like, look, I love this. Can I go full time? And I couldn't. They didn't offer. They still don't. There's only 2 full time positions, I think, and the guys that've been there a long time have got them. And I was like, look, that's absolutely fair enough. So I ended up taking on another role actually at the museum. I worked in the football memories project for a while. The Football Memories Scotland. Sorry, I couldn't get the name right there. So it's a dementia project. It's all about memory recall and things like that. And I worked there for just over a year and a half. And while I was there, because I loved that job, but I really struggled to sit at an office desk. It just makes me miserable. I'm not very good at sort of being, I don't know, I just sat in front of a screen, and I had my own office at the time as well, which to some people seems like an absolute dream, but I think you've only met me for the past however long we've spoke here, nearly an hour. I'm Gabby Annie. I can't cope with sitting one-to-one with a computer screen. It just drives me mad. And it was while I was sitting at my desk at in Hampden, because we weren't in the Scottish Football Museum, we were in the level above in Hampden, and I was like, all I have, well, mostly what happens when I'm on tours, I'll say to folk, oh, have you been to Ibrox? Have you been to Celtic Park? Have you been to any of the other grounds this weekend? And they're like, no, we only had time for one because we had, and it always drove me mad, because I was like, you can see every single one of them, like, in a couple of hours, in a car, in a taxi, in a bus, whatever, and that was it. I was sitting at my office desk and I was like, Lindsay, that's it. I was like, that's, you like, if I can't get a job, then I'll need to make my own. And that was it. The Glasgow Football Tour was kind of set in stone, and this is what I was going to do. And the whole idea was that I didn't want tourists coming to Glasgow, football fans, thinking they've got to sacrifice 4 grounds to go and see one, when you can get around them all in 2 hours. So
yes, that's what I was going to ask. So was it your work at the Scottish Football Museum that was the brainchild for, that was like the wee light bulb moment?
yeah, that was it. It was just talking to people, really, and realising that there was a problem. The problem being that you don't need to sacrifice them all just to see one or 2, even if it was you got to see Celtic and Rangers, which I know they're the big ones, but there's so many stories.
So for anybody that doesn't know, that how does it work? How does the Glasgow Football Tour work?
Yeah, so it's in normal times it's a driven bus tour, which hopefully we come to soon. I've got a 15-seater minibus. We meet at George Square. I usually walk around the front of the City Chambers and meet folk. I've got a big flag that I got made with my logo on it. It's class. I love it to bits. So we meet there. We go to Celtic Park. So it's a hop on, sort of hop off. Although you stay on for the duration, because sometimes I say that to folk and they think that I pick them up later on. I don't. We just kind of step off. I tell my stories, and then we get back on. So Celtic Park, Hampden, Calfcombe Park. From Calfcombe we go to Ibrox, and then we finish up at Firhill, and then back into the city centre. And I just don't shut up for 2 hours just telling stories. Obviously, the best way to do it, and I always say to folks, like, come on, tell stories, talk, ask questions, talk to one another. It's the best way. It's the best way to enjoy it. Because I can tell you some of the wee golden nuggets and stuff that makes folks' jaw drop when they realise that this place is absolutely the heart of modern football and what the modern game is. Even when you tell folk about the 3 Hampden Parks, some people didn't even know that there was 3, and it's huge. It's a huge moment. You tell people about Third Lanark and Cafkin Park, and they're aghast. And even folk that were there and knew about Third Lanark, even going back to the old place, it's really tough. It's quite emotional for folk. It's just great. I love it to bits. But that's the idea. It's a bus tour, 2 hours. You get to see every ground. I'd love to add Glasgow City to that list, but they don't have their own ground at the minute. It has been spoken about in the past, and obviously I'm sure sadly a pandemic's maybe curtailed that quite a bit. Obviously there's a financial strain on everybody at the minute. But the league's recently went professional, so hopefully even in a couple of years we might see that growth a little bit more, and hopefully they can get their own space, because that'd be really cool as well. But always mention them in tour. Always talk about their success, especially in the Champions League, which has just been fantastic. But it's great. I miss doing it. But at the minute, I'm doing virtual tours. That's kind of how I've got round about. Just driving myself mad, to be honest. So I still have a full-time job at the Football Museum. I'm doing the social media at the minute. I've been doing that for the past couple of months. But my weekends now, on my Saturdays, is doing the virtual tours. It's £6. I do it over Zoom. It's not of the full Glasgow Football Tour, because that would be impossible. Me in my car, you wouldn't want that. It would just be a pure nonsense. So I do a virtual tour of Hampden Park, and it's all outside the ground.
So does somebody go with you holding a camera?
Yeah. My brother follows me around with a camera. But it's just a Zoom setup. It's £6 a ticket. As soon as I've got your email the night before, I send you the Zoom link. I kick off at 12, but you can log on from 11:55. So as soon as you log on, you usually just see the front steps of Hampden. I check everybody's audio's working, because obviously I let folk join. So I'm like, right, Joe Blogs, is your audio working? I get either a wee thumbs up, or they'll come off mute and let me know that it's all good. Everybody's on mute. You don't need to show your face or anything like that. It's just me in front of a camera. But do you know, it's fun in games. It's strange, because obviously when there's an actual crowd there, people don't really bother you. You might get the few hanger on that kind of spot you outside the ground and they want to hear a wee bit of the story, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But it's funny when you're stood out with Zoom and it's just me talking to a camera, like, and we've got random dog walkers. Like, there's been so many dogs that have came and sniffing my leg and wanting to get involved, and just people walking past being like, what the hell is that nutter doing? But it's funny.
Have you come to enjoy doing the virtual tours?
I do. The first couple of weeks, I couldn't quite get the timings right. Like, I kind of, because I'm literally going for the front steps of Hampden to Lesser Hampden, where there's like the Queen's Park crest and stuff like that, to the Andy Robertson mural. So it's not a big distance, but I didn't really know timing wise, and if I'm telling my stories and etc., how it was going to go. So some of them have been shorter, some of them have been longer. But last week I was really chuffed that I really nailed it last week, and I was like, right, that was bang on. But the feedback's been really positive, and as I'm saying to folk, it's just a way of keeping me. I'm a small business. It's a way to keep me tied over. It's money for a rainy day. But really, it's to keep the cogs going, and so I'm still keeping my stories going. And because I always say to folk as well at the end of it, I was like, see if you've got any stories for me. You don't need to tell me them now, but email us, send us a wee message, whatever. And I've already had a few wee people saying, oh, it'd be great if you spoke about this, or I was at this game in whatever year, and this was what happened. And it's great. It's just great for that. And I do that on my normal tours anyway, but it's just a different way of doing it, obviously, because I'm not face-to-face with people. But that was another thing with the timing, because usually when you're with people, if you tell a wee joke, you get a reaction, so there's a wee bit of laughter and things like that. But obviously when people are on mute and they're just on a Zoom call, you're not getting that same, like,
facial cues, verbal cues and stuff. Yeah.
And some folk add their own information as well. I like cues, and also if I'm saying, the Champions League final in 2002, and folk will be like, oh, I was there. We went to this pub before, whatever. Or, we were sitting here. You know, they add their own wee stuff. Do you know what I mean? And that adds conversation. So it took a couple of weeks to get the timing and stuff bang on, but pretty chuffed with it. The one added thing as well this week, if you don't mind mentioning, but we've collaborated with a company called Pie Sports. Brilliant, by the way. In fact, I'll maybe tell you about get you onto them, because that'd be really cool, because I believe they are Glasgow based. I don't know whereabouts in Glasgow, but they're definitely Glasgow based. They basically deliver match day pies and bovrils around Glasgow. Absolutely brilliant, locally made, made from their own bakery, I believe. And they've collaborated with us so that if anybody books on one of my virtual tours, I can send you a wee £10 10% discount off of any Pie Sports order. So you can literally sit at home watching a virtual tour of Hampden Park with a pie and bovril, or use your discount, keep it for a Saturday game, Sunday game. And because obviously we're all stuck in the house watching games from home, and we could be for a long time. So if you want, book on one of my virtual tours, you get a wee 10% discount. So you can get a proper match day pie and bovril for a game if you're sitting watching from home. Your season ticket virtual package or whatever you've got. So that's been really fun as well. But no, I'm enjoying the virtual tours. As I say, they keep me ticking over. They keep people interested as well. It's all about keeping customer interested too. And it's just it's a very, very unique way to get through the sort of tail end of this lockdown. I'm hoping now this is going to be it. I know we've been down this route before, but it seems a bit different this time, and hopefully this is us coming to the tail end of it. So it's just a sort of different way to get yourself to the very end. And if you're a football fan, or if you've got a football fan in your life that you think might enjoy it, then it's £6 and a bit of fun.
Oh, your boots. When was your very first tour?
That I took?
Yeah, you like the Glasgow Football Tour. When was the very first? Do you remember doing the very first one?
The very first one was in April 2019, I believe. And I think I had 8 people on, and I was pure chuffed. Mate, I literally could have had one person. As long as I had one person that I didn't know, I was going to be like over the moon about that. And I think it was only 2 of my pals that came on the original. 2 people that I actually knew. And just the buzz that day. I just remember being really, really nervous. And I'm never nervous before a tour, but this was personal, do you know what I mean? Like this wasn't doing it for the Scottish Football Museum. This was me going out my own, and it was my name that's on it. So obviously my name isn't the name of the company, but it's me that's dealing with the social media and the email and stuff like that. So, and I'd done all my work ahead of time, and it went well. From memory, it went well, but I just remember getting up the road and was like pure full of the shakes, because it was just like adrenaline, just absolutely pumped through the body. But if I remember correctly, it was a nice sunny day actually. It was dry, it was sunny.
2 things you can't take for a given in Glasgow.
Exactly. I'll tell you, my one memory of it, we had 2, got fair play to them, we had 2 Rangers fans on the tour, and father and son, I think. Lovely guys. And they said, we'd been to Ibrox. Ibrox is the second last stop. And we were walking back to the bus, and they were like, "Here, you did well there." And I was like, "Eh?" Obviously, we'd been to 3 other stadiums beforehand, so I was like, I thought it was a dig. I was like, "What?" And then they're like, "No, you did well to say nice things about Rangers." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "You're a Celtic fan?" And I was like, "How do you know?" I hadn't said anything, right? I hadn't mentioned it. I usually do until I don't hide away from it. There's no point, you know what I mean? Like, and there's definitely no point now, because I was like, how do you know? I was like, what? And they were like, because when you were outside Celtic Park, you said Celtic. I was like, no chance. So right for the off, I was found it out, and I was like, and they were like, no, seriously, that was actually like really good. What you've said out there, like, I don't think I'd be able to do that. Celtic Park, obviously, as big Rangers fans, and I was like on off. But it was good to get that feedback as well, because I'm aware that that's my team. But I'm talking about all the clubs, and like I'm there to talk about the history. I'm there to talk about what's happened, and especially at Ibrox, like we go to the John Gregg statue, at Ibrox and talk about the Ibrox disaster, but then go through like the sort of tragedy to triumph and the club win the European Cup Winners' Cup and things. So it's I'm just there to talk about the history. I'm not there to show any sort of bias. And I was really chuffed that the guy said that. It was nice. It was reassuring that I wasn't being too like leaning too heavily towards any sort of side. So it was good.
No, Lindsay, I mean, I have watched a couple of the videos and it's really striking how impartial you are. There's clearly no way to tell who you support, and that should really be commended, especially when we live in the goldfish bowl that we do. So, really well done for that.
Oh, mate, it's thanks very much. And it's good to hear that because that's kind of how I want it to be. Obviously, my club's my club, and come Sunday, I want my team to win. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, my like passion is for the history of football in this city. Because to me, I want to eradicate the whole football's coming home noise for our noisy neighbours. I can't stand it. Like, this city is where football was invented, in my opinion. Queen's Park being the forefathers of it. And I'm never done telling people about it. And I'm never done telling people about the first ever international game and about Andrew Watson being the first black international footballer and all that stuff. Like, so many big things happened here. Hampden Park, the first Hampden Park, which is now a bowling club, but that's the first purposely built international stadium on the planet, in the world. Like, don't talk to me about the Maracana. Aye, it's brilliant, but go away. Do you know what I mean? There's so many big things here, and I'm just never done shouting about it. And it's about that for me. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to the club stuff, but because you're right, goldfish bowl is the best way to put it. Christ, I did an interview in my first newspaper interview. I've got it hanging on the wall. The headline was Hamilton's Academics, and I was like, that has gone on the wall. That is class. It was the Herald. And one of the first questions, and it's highlighted on a big, like a sort of larger quote, like in the article. You're a historian. Is Rangers a new club? And I was like,
oh no.
Have you seriously just asked me that on the phone, man? Like, I was like, I can't answer that. And you know what? My answer always is: there's not a single club in Glasgow that haven't fell under financial hardship. Not one. Celtic had it in '94. The Jags had it in the '90s as well. Rangers have had it. Queen's Park have had it. Being an amateur outfit, as well, and doing so well to stay in the professional leagues all these years. But they've had to get some backing and stuff as well. They've never came close to any sort of bankruptcy, but they've obviously don't have the same funds that the big boys do. So absolutely not. I'm not here to play that game. I can't win that fight. Depending on your persuasion, you're going to have your answer to that, and it's not up to me to say yay or nay. I can happily talk. I'll happily talk about what happened, the ins and outs of it. But that's you can't say yay or nay to that. There's no answer, really. Like, it doesn't matter what you say. In the fishbowl that we live in is a great way to put it.
How do you see the GFT growing then as we go back to normal? Like, what are your plans with it?
I'm still at a word of mouth stage in building a customer base. I always tell myself though, I'm one good deal away from cracking it. The big thing but bear in mind, I am a one woman operation. I don't have any help here, so being on YouTube was a great thing for me. I've only started it. I'm still learning, but already I logged on the other day and seen that I did a video a wee while back, top 10 Old Firm facts for the last game, and I checked the other day and it had 1.1k views, and I was like, where the hell did that come from? Now, am I seeing any money for that? No, but people are aware that I'm here, and that's what it's all about. And again, it's about sharing those stories. And
that's 1,100 people that have taken time out their day to listen. Fair play, because it doesn't matter how long that is. People have lives.
Man. Mm-hmm. No, exactly that. And like, I think I've done I don't know now, maybe 7 videos, maybe 6, 7, don't know. I'm trying now because as I said, I'm learning. I'm like, right, how am I just doing videos for enjoyment, or do I want to? So it's a kind of mix between, like, I want some videos that are for enjoyment, i.e. top 10 all for facts, wee bit of information, but I'm also want to do stuff for customers. So recently I did like the 3 Hampden parks, and it's again just to let folk know, here, you get a dog, you want to go walk for a day, go to these 3 places, and here's a couple of wee things about it, and you will learn more as you walk about, or come on to a tour and learn more and stuff as well. Obviously we're shut now, but I've got plans to be like, heading to a Partick Thistle game, these are the pubs to go to before you go, and this is how much a pint is. More touristy stuff, do you know what I mean? Like, for folk that are actually coming to Glasgow. And the same for, and as I'm saying, the junior grounds, again, I want to do like full, sort of like match day reports, but our match days, like pre-match pint, where to go for food afterwards, like, can I get food for a £5, where to go, stuff like that. But it's getting it done. It's very time consuming. YouTube's hard, man. Like, it looks pretty and fancy when you've got the thing all together in the end up, but shooting it and getting all your lines ready, and because I've got a script, I need a script to be able to make sure I'm being coherent, and you try and make it as short as possible, because I'm a small channel, I've not got many subscribers, so you need stuff to be nice and concise. And I've learned that the hard way. I've done 15-minute videos and the views are quite low. And then I've done sort of shorter, snappy ones, and they're a lot higher. So it's just learning. It's learning as I go. But YouTube's been great. My Instagram has done really well recently. I had a pure buzz the other week. I think it was 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, actually. It just blew up. I think it was 422 is a big Instagram page. I think it was them first picked up this video I took in Paris. It was a thing called Disco Foot. It was the Paris Opera House, I think, dancing, playing football. It was amazing. It was outside the Pompidou. I knew it was something beginning with P, right? And it was boys and lassies, right, dancing away. As I'm saying, they were proper professional dancers, kicking a ball about. It was called Disco Foot. It was a pure laugh. Anyway, this 422, regrammed it. But they asked me, can we use permission to share this? And I was like, I no bother. Sent them the original video in that. And my Instagram just kind of blew up. Like, I was sitting at maybe 500 followers, which I was quite happy with. Like, and I've only been going a short period of time. I'm a one-woman show. I post when I can, and all the rest of it, I'm doing a full-time job in that, so I do what I can. And they posted this video, and I ended up with over 800 followers, like, which is a lot for me. Like, and to some people that'll be pure hee-haw, but to me, I was like, that's amazing. Like, it's as a small business, honestly, one like on a photo gives you a pure buzz. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, any sort of interaction you get on any sort of post just gives you an absolute buzz.
See, on that subject, how did your interview with A View from the Terrace, the BBC one, how did that come about?
They emailed me. Must have found I can't remember. One of the producers had been following my Instagram and slid into my DMs. That sounds a bit off, but it wasn't like that. But just sent us a wee message, and I was blown away, because I was very aware of the programme. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of the programme, even though they tend to slate both Celtic and Rangers, but they're not supporters of the club. So, but I like them talk about the lower clubs, and the wee films they make are fantastic, and the wee music, see the covers and stuff they do at the end, man. I love all that. I really enjoy it. So he sent a message. He was like, I'm aware of your page. Do you sort of fancied it? And I was chucked myself with it, mate. Like, right, I was like right on it. So that sounds amazing. We met at a studio that's down near the quay, in the south side. I think it's called Studio something. I hope I've got that right. But went along there. There was 2 guys doing the camera work and a lassie asking me questions. It's funny, I've never done anything like this before, so I was like a total fish out of water. But she was like, I'm going to ask the questions, but you need to respond as if, I can't remember how she worded it, but say you were like, what did you have for breakfast? You can't just go beans and toast. You need to say, I had for my breakfast. Like, you need to explain the question I've asked you, sort of thing. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, so if it was to put it in a football context, like, what's your favourite ground in Glasgow? I can't just go Calfkin Park because people wouldn't know what I was talking about. So yeah, I've kind of got to do the question and the answer for myself. I know it sounds pure daft, but this was all new to me, so I was like, right, okay, that makes sense. This big like all the gear was top of the range. Like it was fantastic. What a day! Do you know I got a cup of tea out of that as well? They made us a wee cup of tea, just brilliant. And when I spoke for over an hour. And she did say to me at the time, I was like, how long is this going to be? Because I knew it was going to be proper short. Because I've seen the videos they do you know what I mean? And she was like, it'll probably be about 3 minutes. And I was like, I feel sorry for you. She was like, I know, it's the toughest job ever. And I was like, aye. But see, when I seen it finished up, man, I was delighted with it. I was so chuffed with it. It's so good. It's just even the start, like the stadium edits, like, I aim for that sort of cinematography when I'm doing my YouTube channels. Like I don't know how they capture stuff like that. Like it's so cool. The stuff they've captured of the stadiums, like really, really amazing shots. But the whole thing was brilliant, and that did me really. That was a really good thing as well. Good project. Had some of just like old mates and stuff being like, I saw you in the telly there. Like I was getting hundreds of messages and things. And again, just the recognition for as a small business again, putting in the hard work and getting texts from folk that maybe haven't seen you in a wee while. Like it's just nice. And it was really good. It was good for us. I felt, although I never felt like I'd made it, because obviously I'm still sitting there, I'm not quite blown up my bank balance yet or anything like that. But again, it's that recognition. It just made all the difference in the world, and I felt 10 feet tall when I seen it all finished up. So that was good.
Oh, the wee doggo crying. So just to round off then, what are your plans for the Glasgow Football Tour as we move into the future, immediately post-lockdown, once the restrictions have all been lifted, which appears to be coming really soon, thankfully?
It just means going back to driven tours. The guidelines, I was actually on the phone to my bus company today about this because we're still a wee bit grey area about the guidelines. I was looking, 17th of May seems to be 4 people from 2 households allowed in an indoor space, and we're kind of looking at that going, well, we're an indoor space in terms of the bus, so I'm thinking middle of May. But to be honest, I already this summer have walking tours planned. I've got a group booking for a full weekend. I think it's actually it's the weekend of the England game. Cannot wait. A company called Archive Scotland who are doing work at Calfkin Park, and they're aware of my tours, and asked if I would maybe consider doing a walking tour for them around the Free Hampdens. So I've got stuff already for the summer, and walking tours seem to be the way to go. I think people will be ready for that as well for the summer, even though it seems like we've all been in the parks, like every one of them in Glasgow. But I think maybe for a wee while yet, it'll be more looking at the walking stuff and virtual stuff before we can get round to the driven tours just yet. Long term though, I'd love to have my own like 8-seater, like a kind of bespoke, just smaller crowds as well. My own 8-seater vehicle with a logo on the side or on the back or something like that. That's the dream. I don't really have big dreams, just wee ones, but I think it is a good idea. Like I know that myself in this city, it's a good idea. It's a passion for me. I just hope folk take it. That's the dream. That it does get picked up and tourists want to come along and join in, and locals as well, man. Like I know everybody here's got their club, but you'll be surprised about the things that you don't know about your own club and things that you don't know about the others as well, and how connected the 4/5 with the Lanark are as well. Like there's so many funny crossovers when you piece it all together. It's like the Marvel movies; they all sort of lock into one another. Do you know what I mean? But I just want to see how far it goes. But do you know what it is, mate? I was talking about this the other day. I think sometimes as a small business owner, you can get bogged down and think, oh, this isn't going anywhere, or people aren't taking to this. It's been 2 years. I literally see myself doing this when I'm 50, 60 year old. This is it is this is what I want to be doing fundamentally. So even if I have to work full-time jobs and just do this on the side as a hobby, as a wee side hustle for 20, 30, 40 years until I'm sitting ready to retire or whatever, cool beans. That's what I'll do. I love it. It makes me happy.
You're playing it's a long game, yeah. Even if that, like, regardless of it's a side hustle, that is something you enjoy. That's more important than what, like, the enjoyment for you doesn't matter what the status of it is. That you get it, you feel it on a personal level. It adds to your life, and that's it.
100%, mate. It fills the wee space between my ears with absolute joy. Feeds the soul as well. It's good for my head and it's good for my heart. So it's definitely here to stay for me. Might be a wee bit selfish there, but it makes me happy, so it's sticking around. But also, it's brought folk joy and entertainment. I know that. I get positive feedback about it all the time.
Brings people together as well, because there's, especially in the tribalism, that you have a bus where, say hypothetically, there's the 4 teams. Say you had 8 people in that bus, 4 twos. Then they're learning things about each other, whereas these people might not like to sit together otherwise, if that makes sense.
Yep. No, like, it's funny. It's fun in games, man. We get it all the time, and my line is, I kind of go a wee bit Billy Connolly. I always heard him sort of say this, but like, it's I can't even remember when he said it now. That's terrible. I feel like I've been binging Billy Connolly the whole lockdown. That's another thing I've been binging, just his stand-ups on YouTube, man, just watching them on repeat. But it's like, obviously I know, I always prompt before when people book, tell me what team you support, just so I can be a wee bit personalised, especially if it's an international visitor or something like that as well. But if I know it's a Rangers fan and we're coming out at Celtic Park, I'll say, right, here we go, boo, hiss, get it all out your system, but you're getting off the bus. And it's the same when you've got a Celtic fan coming out Ibrox. I'm like, away, you can wash yourself later. Just get out the bus, like, and listen to the stories. It'll no kill you. And see, to be honest, man, people just laugh it off, and everybody's good natured and just a good laugh about it. Do you know what I mean?
Brilliant. So do you want to plug your socials before we go, so you get a chance to say them in your own words?
Yeah, that'd be smashing. So, well, first and foremost, the website is www.glasgowfootballtour.com. You find all the information in there. Facebook and Instagram are both at Glasgow Football Tour. And then my YouTube channel is Football Makes Glasgow, which of course is a nod to the wee people makes Glasgow, but I've changed it up to Football Makes Glasgow. So you can find us and follow us on there, and come on a virtual tour, buy a gift voucher for the driven tours, because they'll be starting, hopefully, fingers crossed, should the guidelines be work in our favour. Hopefully we'll be out of this in a couple of months. So
tell us more about the pie and Bovril deal as well, you were saying.
Oh, aye, definitely. So Pie Sports, so if you book onto one of our virtual tours, as I said, six quid for a wee virtual tour on a Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock. You book onto one of them, I will give you a 10% discount on all your Pie Sports orders. And that's it. Some of the stuff's brilliant. By the way, if you're veggie or a vegan or anything like that, they have it's brilliant. By the way, they've got like the Internationalist and the 442 and all this. Like, they've all got mad football names, and one of them is the VAR, which is a veggie alternative range or something like that, they've called it. So cool company, and I say they deliver, so you don't need to go and pick it up anywhere. They'll do the delivery and stuff for you. Have a wee pie, have a wee Bovril, and watch a wee virtual tour.
Brilliant. Get on board, everyone. But thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I enjoyed it. It was good gab.
Again, a big thanks to Lindsay Hamilton for her time. I hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed chatting to her, and I'd encourage everyone to check out the Glasgow Football Tour on the social media accounts she provided. A couple of credits to finish off. The Lost for Words logo was made by AZR Creations. All theme music and sound effects are from zapsplat.com. Please stay in touch and stay engaged with us on social media using the handle @LostForWordsPod on both Twitter and Instagram. But for now, I am your host Jason, and I will see you next time for episode 2 of Lost for Words.